Good afternoon and salam Malaysia Madani. You're watching updates at noon with me, Brendan Lepol, making the headlines today. Agrico Qatar interested in crude palm oil supply from Malaysia. And also, Malaysia will not experience water supply crisis during El Nino. Agriculture Development, Agrico Qatar, an organic agriculture company based in Qatar, intends to obtain a supply of crude palm oil for its palm oil refinery in Malaysia. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said this was among the matters raised when he received a courtesy call from Agrico Qatar Chairman Ahmad Hussein Al Khalaf at his office yesterday. In a post on his Facebook page, Datuk Seri Anwar said the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry and the Selangor State Government are coordinating this matter. He said these products will then become high-quality products that could potentially be exported to Qatar, Tanzania, Afghanistan, India and countries in the West Asia. The Premier said the Malaysian government will continue to strengthen the business-to-business network between Malaysia and Qatar and welcome companies from Qatar to explore various trade and investment opportunities in Malaysia. This was in line with Qatar's Vision 2030 and Malaysia's National Food Security Policy Action Plan 2021 to 2025. United Kingdom's decision to join the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership (CPTPP) is anticipated to boost trade ties between Malaysia and the UK. Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Seri Fadillah Yusof said the trade agreement between the two countries would provide more trade opportunities and wider market access.
We are looking at the UK having a trade deal with Malaysia for the first time, reducing the red tape as businesses enjoy operating on a par with local firms and cutting off tariffs on goods, exports, providing businesses with much greater access to new markets.
The Deputy Premier said this during a dinner reception which was attended by a member of the UK's House of Lords, Dominic Johnson, High Commissioner of Malaysia to the United Kingdom, Datuk Zachary Jaffar, and other dignitaries. UK is the only European country that ratified the CPTPP, the world's largest free trade agreement. According to Datuk Seri Fadillah, who is also the Minister of Plantation and Commodities, this reflected the country's commitment towards the Indo-Pacific region. The opening of the Bangan Dato Bridge will boost investment and development in the area, which has already attracted investor interest. Deputy Prime Minister Dato Sri Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi also said so far 3 investors had sent letters of interest to him regarding their proposals to set up a dockyard and 2 factories for producing heavy vehicles as well as electric vehicles and batteries. Dato Sri Ahmad Zahid, who is also Rural and Regional Development Minister, said the proposed ventures were expected to create 10,000 job opportunities. He will coordinate approval for these applications with the local authorities, state government and Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry.
Kilang kenderaan berat oleh sebuah syarikat yang telah sedia ada membuat kenderaan penumpang dan kenderaan perdagangan ringan. Ini termasuk kilang membuat bateri dan kenderaan EV. Dan kedua-duanya heavy vehicle dan kenderaan EV tadi akan membuka peluang tidak kurang daripada 7,500 pekerjaan baru. Ya.
According to Dato Sri Ahmad Zahid, a Turkish company had met him regarding a proposal to build a shipyard as there was a high demand for repair and maintenance services by merchant ships plying the Straits of Malacca. He said the new bridge will benefit not only the 70,000 commuters from Bagan Datuk, but also at least 250,000 users from 3 other districts, namely the Pasir Salak, Teluk Intan and Sabak Bernam parliamentary constituencies. Malaysia is not expected to face a water crisis like the one in 1998, although the country is expected to experience the El Niño phenomenon from June to September this year. National Water Services Commission SPAN Regional Operations Division Director Azrul Raimi Ramli is of this view after looking at the Malaysian Meteorological Department's Met Malaysia's weather report and the current global warming. Based on the monitoring of the current condition of 43 dams across the country conducted by SPAN, it has been found that so far almost all dams have water levels above 90%. According to Azrul, only 7 dams are being monitored as the water level has dropped by almost 50% without exceeding the warning level. The 7 dams are Terima Dam in Perlis, Air Hitam and Teluk Bahang dams in Pulau Pinang, Sungai Muda and Maulud dams in Kedah, Bukit Merah Dam in Perak and Sembrong Dam in Johor. To ensure a good and proper water supply, SPAN constantly monitors the main dams in the peninsula. It has also established a preparedness plan that involves the cooperation of various parties and water operators. In view of a crisis in water supply, such as the one that occurred in 1998, Azrul said the government could use the Water Services Industry Act 2006, Act 655, to limit the rate of consumption for major usage to ensure continuity of water supply. The Economy Ministry will open opportunities for the public to directly apply for allocations to carry out development and small infrastructure public projects in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Its Minister Rafizi Ramli said the application system is now in the final stage of preparation and his ministry will elaborate on the form of project applications that are allowed as well as related requirements when the system is introduced. According to Rafizi, when the system is launched, the people will no longer need to go through layers of application process, which normally takes a long time to be approved.
Jadi proses sebelum ini sebenarnya meletakkan halangan-halangan yang berlapis-lapis. Rakyat nak baiki kena pergi sana, pergi sini, wakil rakyat kena pergi situ pula, jabatan itu kena pergi semua. Jadi kami berpandangan bahawa lebih baik kalau ada perubahan iaitu kita buka kepada semua rakyat termasuklah juga jabatan kerajaan, termasuklah pihak berkuasa tempatan dan sebagainya lah.
He said this during an engagement session on the midterm review of the 12th Malaysia Plan by the Economy Ministry, jointly with the Selangor government in Shah Alam. According to Rafizi, the move was also a win-win situation and subsequently would facilitate the assemblyment as the applications can be submitted directly to the Economy Ministry. The success of the Makkah route, a pilot program initiated by the Saudi Arabian government in Malaysia in 2017, has allowed it to be expanded to 6 other countries. Now, the program, aimed at simplifying and speeding up the journey of the pilgrims, is also being implemented in Morocco, Indonesia, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Ivory Coast and Turkey.
Kalau dulu kan tuan-tuan dan puan, bakal-bakal haji kita terpaksa menunggu dalam sekitar 4 ataupun 5 jam di immigration. Saya ingat dulu masa saya pergi haji lebih kurang macam tu lah. Tapi dengan adanya perkhidmatan Mecca Route ini, tuan-tuan dan puan nampak seramai lebih kurang 55 pegawai daripada kerajaan Saudi yang ditempatkan di sini selama sebulan untuk memudahkan perjalanan bakal-bakal haji kita.
Speaking to the media after inspecting the Makkah route counter at the Kuala Lumpur International Airport, KLIA, Datuk Muhammad Naim also thanked the government of Saudi Arabia and King Salman Abdul Aziz Al Saud for continuing the Makkah route program in Malaysia. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia's ambassador to Malaysia, Musa'ad Ibrahim Abdullah Al Sulaim, thanked the Malaysian government for its cooperation in making the program a success. The implementation of the National Digital Network Plan Jendela Phase 1 has surpassed its set network coverage area, mobile network speed and fibre connectivity targets. Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission MCMC Chief Operating Officer Datuk Muhammad Ali Hanafia Muhammad Yunus said Jendela Phase 1 saw 7.74 million premises installed with fibre internet connections, exceeding its 7.5 million initial target. He said with the conclusion too, 96.90% of populated areas now have 4G network coverage and mobile network speed, achieving an average of 116.03 megabits per second. The initial target for the 4G network coverage was 96.9%, and the target for mobile network speed was set at 35 megabits per second.
Phase 2, although it is still in the pipeline, what has been discussed initially with the industry, phase 2 is actually for the period of 2023 until 2025. We are targeting for internet coverage in populated areas at 100%, mobile broadband speed at 100 megabit per second on an average, yeah? And also premise pass with gigabit speed increasing from 7.5 to 9 million by the end of 2023.
Datuk Muhammad Ali Hanafia said Phase 2 implementation would commence soon during the third quarter of this year or latest by the fourth quarter. However, there are hurdles to be overcome before Phase 2 is implemented, which includes the transition from a single wholesale network model to dual wholesale network, as announced recently. Jordanians celebrate as Crown Prince Hussein ties the knot. That and more coming up in the foreign segment. Jordan's Crown Prince Hussein bin Abdullah married Saudi architect Rajwa Al Saif on Thursday in a wedding attended by royals from across the globe. Now, the ceremony took place in the mid-century Zahran Palace in the capital Amman, the scene of other key Hashemite kingdom weddings, including that of King Abdullah II to Queen Rania, and also that of the monarch's father, the late King Hussein bin Talal. The king's eldest son and Rajwa, both aged 28, tied the knot at a ceremony attended by their families and 140 guests, including US First Lady Jill Biden and Britain's Prince and Princess of Wales, who made a surprise appearance. Other notable guests on Thursday included the Netherlands King Willem-Alexander and Queen Maxima, as well as Belgium's King Philip and Crown Princess Elizabeth. The highly anticipated nuptials were met by celebrations across Jordan, with thousands gathering to witness the procession in Amman in streets, decorated for the occasion with pictures of the couple and banners. With hundreds of migrants still sleeping on police station floors, Chicago City Council approved $51 million in funding to help support asylum seekers. Still, some city leaders say the money won't last long and more needs to be done to address the ongoing crisis. Andre Vasquez, chairman of Chicago's Committee on Immigrant and Refugee Rights, said it is not a long-term strategy.
$51 million lasts you maybe 2 months, and that's just services. That's not site acquisition. That's not longer term strategy. It's really hard because, again, I understand why there's some pushback by some. As someone who is first generation here, right? My parents came from Guatemala and effectively went through a similar experience, though clearly not at this scale. I think about all those pieces, right? We have to have these conversations in a way that's helpful.
City leaders say nearly 10,000 asylum seekers have made their way to Chicago since last August, with dozens more arriving each day. At least 300 migrants are currently being housed at Wilbur Wright College, despite plenty of apprehension from neighbors. Last month, former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot declared a state of emergency in regards to the migrant issue. So far, the city has received just $10 million from the federal government, despite requesting much more, according to city officials. Around 1,000 Hungarians rallied in Budapest to protest against the legislation that would eliminate the public servant status of teachers, as well as against police tear gassing of teenagers during a previous demonstration. The protesters march against the new so-called status law that would also significantly increase teachers' workload. Critics refer to the legislation as the revenge law, perceived as punishment for teachers' year-long resistance. The government said the bill is aimed to improve the quality of education. Almost 5,000 teachers have already said they will leave their profession if the status law comes into force. Previous protests have been mainly peaceful except for one early in May when police tear-gassed some teenagers in a pro-teacher rally as they tried to get closer to Prime Minister Viktor Orban's offices, surrounded by construction fences since 2020. Eastern Canada sweltered under a record-breaking heat wave on Thursday that risked inflaming wildfires ravaging the Atlantic coast and other parts of the country with unprecedented ferocity and scale. More than 210 fires were burning across Canada, including 82 out of control, and more than 2.7 million hectares have been scorched already this year. Emergency Preparedness Minister Bill Blair told a news conference in Ottawa that after major flare-ups in the west of the country in May, firefighting shifted in the past weeks to Nova Scotia on the Atlantic coast following hot, dry weather moving eastward. Natural Resources Minister Jonathan Wilkinson projecting the amount of forests burned by wildfires to double by 2050. As airlines seek to fulfill customers' growing post-pandemic appetites for long-haul travel, Boeing is aiming to speed up production of its 787 Dreamliners after a period plagued by repeated delivery interruptions due to manufacturing defects. It will take about a month for the entire aircraft to come together, with the final touches added later in the parking lot. The US aerospace giant has already managed to up its manufacturing rate from fewer than 2 787s per month in 2021 to 4, and is hoping to get up to 5 by the end of the year. There are still several dozen other planes under inspection, but Boeing plans to move that review process to its factory in Everett in Washington state by the end of the year. That will allow them to devote the second assembly line in South Carolina solely to plane construction, meaning they can ramp up to 10 787s per month by 2025 or 2026. Tornadoes spawned by strong convective weather swept across some rural areas in northeast China's Liaoning province, injuring a dozen or so people and damaging croplands, residential buildings and agricultural facilities. Local departments of a township in Tieliang City mobilized firefighting, electric power, housing and public security forces to carry out disaster relief work in the immediately aftermath of the tornado. According to the ongoing post-disaster evaluation by local authorities, the tornado has injured 13 people, damaged over 60 houses and nearly 300 hectares of farmland in the area. Hugh Callaghan, one of 6 men wrongly convicted for pub bombings in the English city of Birmingham that killed 21 people in 1974, died this week at the age of 93. The Birmingham 6 were Irishmen living in England who were rounded up after the bombings of the crowded Mulberry Bush pub and the tavern. They spent 16 years in jail until they were exonerated and released in 1991. A trove of Freddie Mercury's previously unseen handwritten draft lyrics for some of Queen's biggest hits goes on show in New York ahead of their sale in London later this year. The manuscripts include working drafts for Bohemian Rhapsody, Don't Stop Me Now, and Somebody to Love. Sotheby's, which is staging the auctions in September, said more than 1,500 items from Mercury's private collection, including costumes and unique objects as well as the draft lyrics, will feature in the eventual auctions in London and online. And moving on to sports, Malaysia finished fourth in Junior Asia Cup. Stay with us.
Muda kini bersedia untuk beraksi. Kelincahan bakal dipamerkan dalam perlawanan persahabatan antarabangsa Tier 2 bawah 17 tahun. Malaysia bertemu Uzbekistan Selasa 6 Jun 8.15 malam di saluran OK dan saluran sukan RTM. Saksikan juga secara penstriman langsung di RTM Klik.
The national men's junior hockey squad ended their challenge for the 2023 Asian Junior Cup in fourth place after losing 2-1 to South Korea at the bronze playoff in Oman. The match, which took place at the Sultan Qaboos Youth Complex, saw South Korea take the lead when Lim Do-hyun converted a penalty corner in the 22nd minute. Muhammad Adam Ashraf Mohamed Johari equalised for Malaysia through a field goal 4 minutes later. Yoo Seong-ho emerged as South Korea's hero when he scored the winner through a field goal in the 37th minute, exacting revenge against Malaysia, who beat them in the third Group B match on 27th May. Malaysia had previously finished top of Group B, winning all 4 of their matches against Uzbekistan, Bangladesh, South Korea and Oman. Malaysia's fourth-place finish yesterday saw them repeat the feat in the inaugural edition in 1988 and in 2004, both of which took place in Karachi, Pakistan. The national junior hockey squad is planning to hold the European Tour series in preparation for the 2023 Men's SAHIH Hockey Junior World Cup in Kuala Lumpur this December. Without disclosing the details, head coach Muhammad Amin Rahim is confident that his team will benefit from the tour series, which usually fields the best players to test the squad strength.
Kami juga ada merancang untuk mengadakan siri jelajah di Eropah, yang mana kita belum lagi bermain dengan pasukan Eropah. So diharap jelajah itu kita akan membiasakan diri dengan corak permainan Eropah, yang mana kita akan lebih dapat cara permainan, gaya permainan Eropah supaya kita lebih bersedia untuk kejohanan Piala Dunia Remaja pada hujung tahun ini.
The coach said this through a video clip shared by the Malaysian Hockey Confederation to the media. MHC previously set a target for the national junior hockey team to at least advance to the semi-finals of the tournament, which will be held from 5th to 16 December. Touching on the performance of his players at the Men's Junior Asia Cup, Muhammad Amin said there are still several weaknesses that need to be improved to ensure Malaysia is fully prepared for the 2023 Men's SAHIH Hockey Junior World Cup. And in tennis, Taylor Fritz knocked out the last French player standing at Roland Garros on Thursday and mockingly shushed the boisterous partisan nighttime crowd. Now the American world number 8 defeated Arthur Rinderknecht 2-6, 6-4, 6-3, 6-4 and celebrated by placing his finger to his lips as the majority of fans roundly booed and jeered him. The 25-year-old had become irritated throughout the match as fans sang the French national anthem in a desperate bid to push their last remaining hope into the next round. Pleas by the chair umpire for quiet during the rallies went unheeded. As Fritz performed an exaggerated and theatrical bow to his tormentors at the end of the match, Rinderknecht responded by drawing into. And in football, an emotional Jordi Alba said farewell to Barcelona, his club for 11 years, at an emotional news conference on Thursday. He paid tribute to former Barca coach, the late Tito Villanova, and his teammates, who he said had always managed to get through both spectacular times and difficult moments together. Holding back tears, Alba dedicated his career to his grandfather, who he said had wanted to be a professional football player.
Hablando de gente tan importante, no puedo acordarme de mis abuelos y abuelas. Ahora es que he hecho muchísimo de menos. Uno de ellos es mi abuelo Paco. Nunca podré quitarme la espinita de que no pudiese verme jugar en Primera División y muchísimo menos jugar en el Barcelona. Por eso quiero dedicarle toda mi carrera.
The 34-year-old Spain international has played more than 450 games for Barcelona, winning the Champions League in 2015, 6 La Liga titles, 5 Copa del Rey titles, 4 Spanish Super Cups and the Club World Cup. Jordi Alba came through Barcelona's La Masia academy, but left in 2005 and made a name for himself at Valencia before rejoining the Catalan club in 2012. And that ends today's edition of Updates at Noon, wrapping up with a reminder of our top story. Agrico Qatar interested in crude palm oil supply from Malaysia. Tune in to Malaysia Tonight, coming up at 8:30 p.m. on saluran Berita RTM. And before we go, we leave you with this year's iLight Festival in Singapore that comes with the theme A New Wave and has 14 installations, including Glacier Dreams, a large-scale projection on the facade of the Art Science Museum at Marina Bay Sands. Till then, I'm Brent Lepol, Malaysia Madani, tekad perpaduan penuhi harapan.